Good morning, everybody. This is Chad here with an announcement and a couple of commentaries on some things that have been going on around here. The first, get our Instagram crowd in here. Here they come. The first thing on the announcements is I'm going to be adding a new part to the veteran communication uh, dot coach and the business communication dot coach programs. If you're not a member of those websites, I really encourage you to think about it. It's a way to get constant high quality perspective, training, coaching on different aspects of coaching and sorry, communication and leadership for real steel. And we're going to make that even more valuable come on Friday. We're going to add something that's brand new that people have to pay individually for when I work with them. So keep your eyes and ears open for that one. Something else I wanted to touch on was some different aspects of return to office and what's been going on with that. And kind of the long and the short of it is there's been, um, some organizations making decisions, handing in, down directions and edicts, not always really getting the traction they might be anticipating. Here in Chicago, office rates are still looking at about a 40% vacancy rate. And that's been pretty stubborn. That really has not changed. A lot of the organizations that I'm familiar with here have gone to hybrid arrangements. If they're bringing people in, haven't seen too many going full time. Yet there are some, and they are definitely having some pushback issues when it comes to this. And it really comes into talking about that desired outcome issue again, which is central to everything we do, communication wise, performance wise. What are we really trying to achieve, and keeping that in mind? Is it just to put cheeks and seats, or is it to get actual things accomplished, services delivered, products delivered, uh, things like that? A couple months ago, there was the memo from the AT&T CEO that went out about returning to office, uh, and in it was very transparent, very direct on what the organization and the leadership for that organization had decided to do. So, it was good communication in that respect. A lot of people didn't like it because they didn't like the message, which is a completely different issue. And people kind of conflate the message they don't like with saying it's a bad communication, a bad memo, bad leadership. Uh, that's kind of a human response. The bigger issue that's come out of that, though, is that they adopted a software to monitor people's presence, and it hasn't worked exactly correctly. Now, maybe they've worked the bugs out by then. This was in the media, um, but it wasn't doing good on accommodating if someone was out part of a day for a doctor's appointment or stuff like that. And this really brings up the issue with technology and supplanting communication, or overly relying on this, because when we're looking at trying to shape a behavior and change the way that people are doing something, communication is so critical to that. It's setting up to what we were doing, what we're doing right now, what we want to do in the future, the whole past, current, future state discussion. And then it has to be ongoing in that respect. A lot of times technologies can be seen as that easy way to do something. You throw money at it, you buy some technology solution, and then when it doesn't work, that can really undermine the change that you're trying to make even further. Um, but it's like, how do you have these changes made when we really need to start looking at what the state is, what's the leadership? Because a lot of times it comes down to the people involved. Should you be implementing this big brother system? And it's happened when everybody went remote during COVID. Companies were, using keystroke trackers and stuff like that, and cameras. And really, it's kind of overlooking encouraging the behavior you want to see and communicating that, identifying that, the expectations, the engagement, the accountability, instead of just going to the accountability. Now, there are situations where that needs to happen, and also when there's violations, the accountability is really, really important, because if that part doesn't happen, then everything else is going to fall apart. But always look at what the team is. Do you have the right people in place? Are they responding to the communication? Are they responding to the directives? And the difficult part for a lot of these different organizations is that issue sometimes can be leadership, whether they are having the perspective to see what needs to be done and how to implement it best. And this could be a place where maybe there's some reflection, some stepping back, bringing in someone like myself to work with you, which is what I do with a number of different organizations. Of how do we communicate that? How do we get this policy, this procedure adopted? And sometimes that first impression matters. How you go up and do this. I think that was one of the pitfalls of the AT&T communication was there wasn't really recognition of everything that the organization had achieved through COVID, immediately following COVID. It kind of leapt into this is what we're doing now. So that would be one, you know, observation I would have from that communication, for example. But it's always important to keep that in mind. What did we do? What are we doing now? Where do we want to be? The whole expectations, engagement, accountability. How does all that fit in? How do you execute that? And all that, of course, is wrapped up in communication. So everybody have a great Wednesday and keep your eye out for that announcement coming on Friday. Take care.